3,000. That's right, we've flipped more than 3,000 profitable houses and can teach you how to do the same thing. Click the Academy link for your free roadmap to financial freedom.
Hi, my name is Justin, and as you can see, I'm a young college grad that was pretty sick and tired of just looking for jobs that simply aren't out there. So instead of working at Wendy's flipping burgers, I decided to put my energy into flipping houses for a living instead. But guess what? I had a decent bit of savings, but no clue what it takes to do this biz. So I ran across the Real Estate Investing Academy on YouTube. Now, it's owned by Peter Vekselman, who's done like thousands of deals himself, flipping homes for profits. Listen, what I don't want to do here is go on and on and on. All I know is I went from zero knowledge to just rubbing elbows with one of the best home flippers in the world when I got inside the academy. Hey Pete, thank you from someone who had little options just 6 months ago. I appreciate the extra time you gave me in the forum, helping me launch my marketing plan and just helping me negotiate my first few deals. Am I a millionaire? You know, not yet, but it's pretty sweet working for myself, flipping houses for big money instead of slogging around at minimum wage working a dead-end job. All I can say is be smart and check out the Academy. Just go to peteracademy.com and check out the free preview of the 3 hours of training.
Hey, Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of working with real estate agents. You know, real estate agents is one of those things in this business, especially from the investor side. It seems like everybody's got an extreme feeling about it. Some investors absolutely do not work with agents on the acquisition side, on the sales side, but then there's some investors that are over here that exclusively work with agents. And so here's my contention. I think if you're an investor, no matter what kind of model you're using, whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're buy, fix, and hold, whether you're buy, fix, and sell, you know, maybe you're a developer looking for different inventory or having your inventory sold, I think you're tremendously losing out if you do not use real estate agents in your model. Now, I know it's sometimes for someone like me to say this, to some people that seems a little bit weird, because one of the things you hear people like me talk about is the importance of, like, let's say, you know, on the wholesale side, we always talk about how important it is to develop your own internal database, your own investors. But my contention is this: what realtors have that blows away that anything we could possibly do internally as investors is they have the ability to expose our inventory on the sales side to way more people. I don't care how big your internal database is. Now, does that mean you cannot, let's say, wholesale or sell your own properties without having internal investors or internal buyers? No, I think you can. All I'm saying is that realtors will give it a lot more exposure. They could actually be part of your development of your internal database because they're always going to be attracting new people. So bottom line is this, especially as it relates to selling inventory, you absolutely, in my opinion, have to have realtors involved in your model. So let me just show you a deal I closed on yesterday. And this is a deal on 5th Avenue. I bought it for $40,000 and the exact same day sold it for $62,000. Now, here's the thing. I sold it utilizing one of our own internal real estate agents, and we sold it through MLS, okay? Again, here's the thing. If we would have sold it through one of my non-licensed agent, if he would have wholesaled it, let's say, to a local investor or an investor anywhere in the United States or the world, number one, we would have probably had to sell it at a smaller price. I could just tell you from doing this for many years, realtors almost exclusively, almost 100% of the time, will be able to give you more profits on your sales than if you're going to your internal database. So they're making more money for you. They have the ability to move just as much inventory. Interestingly enough, the agent that sold this deal, Kimberly, she actually sold 3 properties for me just last week alone. So the other thing is that a lot of times people think, well, agents, they could be just like a sideline thing, or they could be just in addition to what you're doing. Reality is absolutely not. She's actually becoming one of my top, I think as we speak, as I'm doing this video today, in the last 3-week running span, she's my top salesperson of my own inventory. So Utilizing realtors. Do you do it? Do you not do it? Obviously today I focused on the disposition side. I didn't focus as much on the acquisition side. I'm going to talk about that in my upcoming videos about how to use realtors on the acquisition side, but definitely on the disposition side, the sales side, whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're a retail seller, whether you have inventory that you've been holding on to like rental properties and you want to sell them. In my opinion, as much as I'm still a huge proponent of developing your internal database of investors, you absolutely have to have agents, realtors involved in terms of selling your inventory for one very basic reason. They have the ability to expose it to a lot more individuals all over the world than you, and I don't care who you are, have the ability to expose it internally. Now, I will tell you this, it absolutely has to be the right realtors. What we don't have here is a free-for-all. You know, one property goes to one agent, another property goes to this, you know, and then this property goes to random agents, and the next thing you know, you got 20 properties listed with 20 random agents. No, you absolutely need to find the right agent that understands whatever model you're in. Maybe it's a retail model, they have to understand the retail model. If you're a renter, they have to understand the renter model and how to sell those. If you're a wholesaler, they have to understand the wholesaler and how to work with investors. But if you have the right agents involved with the right infrastructure behind them to move your inventory, it is an absolutely no-brainer. Where do you fall in the spectrum? Don't use agents or 100% need to use agents? I'm right here. 100% you have to use agents. They're absolutely worth their weight in gold when you find the right ones. Hey there, this is Peter Vexelman. So today I want to talk to you kind of an uncomfortable topic, kind of a controversial topic, and that is this. When do you actually give up? When do you quit? When do you kind of cut your losses? I'll give you an example of something I went through personally, and then I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of you may be in the situation right now. You may have been in a situation like this. Most importantly, if you ever get in a situation like this coming up in the future, I want you to be aware of it, or at least my thoughts on it. And this happened years ago when the market crashed, I guess about 7-8 years ago. And what happened is the market started crashing. There was about a year and a half time where we as investors, or at least in my model, I saw things going downhill. I mean, you guys all know what happened. The money dried up, deals stopped, the market started depreciating extremely fast. There was a lot of confusion out in the streets. People were panicking. People were getting out of the business. People were dumping, you know, their properties. I mean, it was just chaos. I mean, literally 7 years back, if you were around, we all got hit. And here's what happened. Like I said, for about a year and a half, I saw things going downward. They were spiraling downward. And my biggest mistake that I tell people today that I made back then is that I did not get out in time. Meaning I didn't cut my losses in time. I try to hang on and hang on. I try to maintain a reputation. I try to maintain an image with my money people. I was doing it for all the kind of right reasons, but in the end, they were all the wrong reasons. Because in the end, we were all in it together. You know, you don't have to be a hero when you're all in it together and things start going sideways. So the bottom line is this, looking back at it years and years ago now, I lost a tremendous amount of money, way more than I should have lost. Bottom line is, I could have prevented all that. Is instead of getting out, let's say at this point, I would have gotten out 6 months earlier, 8 months earlier, 9 months earlier, 10 months earlier. Sometimes it's okay to call it quits. So here's my point. There's probably situations you may be finding yourself in right now. You may find yourself in the future where you know not only is your back against the wall, you know it's a no-win situation. I mean, sure, it's nice to be a hero and say you could always win and you can get out of everything, but the reality is there are times, there's instances, there's deals where no matter how you slice it, no matter what direction you go into, it's going to be a losing situation. My advice for you as it relates to that is cut your losses. Cut your losses. Lose the ego. Lose whatever else you may have to lose at that point. It may be some money. It may be some relationships. It may be some future opportunities. But it is okay at a point in time in this business on certain things, when certain things happen with certain situations, it's okay to cut your losses and get out of them. So evaluate what you got going on right now. You may be in one of those situations right now, but most importantly, if you ever face that situation in the future, maybe you need to watch this video again and make a decision. It's not an easy decision, but in the end, it's the right decision. Hey, Peter Vexelman. So today, actually, I got Willie here. Willie's been with me for about 5 months now, he's picking up three commission checks here.
Thank you.
Just for this week alone. He sold 3 of my properties. And the reason I want to do this video, and I kind of told you a little bit ahead of time, I just want to, for people that are maybe wholesaling their own deals, maybe they have a Willie in their life that's wholesaling deals for them, kind of in your own words, what do you do on a daily basis to be successful on a back-end wholesaler? Tell me about kind of how your days goes and what you think are important things.
Okay. Well, your day basically revolves around you trying to locate buyers. And you can use social media, you can talk to old friends, accountants, insurance salesmen, anybody that's going to deal with people that are buying properties for investment purposes, and also anybody that simply wants to be an investor. Who wants to be an investor? Because you don't need money to do it, you can use hard money. So it's just talking to everybody you can, ask them if they got extra cash, or ask them if they are an entrepreneur, and getting up a database. And then when a property comes in, it truly is a matter of simply calling them up and saying, hey, I got the property you're looking for, and you match them up. That property came in this morning on Morningside in Marietta. It came in, I saw it, I made 2 phone calls, I got 2 contracts out on it. So it's preparation, and then it's proactively matching them up. It's not just sending them something, you got to send them to them and give them a call so they'll know that you're for real.
I'm going to pick on you a little bit.
Okay.
Because when I called Willie about 30 minutes ago, I said, Willie, listen, I'm going to see you at the office today. I know you're going to pick up some checks. I wanted you to do me a favor. I want you to knock out a video with me. And the phone went silent. And I'm like, Willie? What's going on? And then what he said, I'm not sure what to say, right?
That's right.
That's exactly how it went. I said, Willie, it's the basics, right? And just talk about what you do in the basics. And it's 3 things, and it's really what you just talked about right now. A, if you're wholesaling, if you're flipping deals out there, you're doing really 3 things, right? You're finding investors, right? You're using social media, you're networking, you're developing relationships and all that stuff. You're building a relationship with those investors, right? You want to make sure they're for real, and you want to make sure you let them know that you're for real. And then in the end, you do the proactive move, right? When the property comes up, it's no longer a sale at that point. When the property comes up, you're just matching properties up. So those are the 3 things you focus on the back end of a wholesaling model. Developing your databases of investors, building out relationships with these investors, and then all you're doing is being proactive and matching up the properties to these investors. That's what you do if you want to be a successful wholesaler on the back end. Hey, Peter Vexelman here. So, one of the things I always tell people, or actually not just tell them, I notice, is that many times the reason someone's not successful is not because like certain huge things they're doing wrong. Sometimes it's actually some very little things they're doing wrong. And one of the things that I constantly see, 2 things I see people stumble over. 1, their principles. 2, money in this business. And remember, principles. One thing I always talk about is you have to learn to work in the gray areas in this business. For those of us that are doing this business actively, no, this is not a black and white kind of business. It's not always yes or no. It's not always, this or that. Many times it's in gray areas. So one of the things you have to learn is you have to learn how to work in those gray areas. The second thing is I see people absolutely shoot themselves in the foot over their inability to understand the concept of money. Here's what I mean by that. Remember, we work in a business where you could make $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $200,000 in a deal. And so many times I see people stumbling over literally $50 here, $200 here. So let me read an email I just recently received from a gentleman, and you'll understand how this thing about being too hung up on your principles and worrying about the pennies, not about the big money, can absolutely destroy you. So here's what the email says. It starts out by saying that I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. So this is a savvy investor. This is not like a brand new investor. So now he starts telling me about one of his rental properties. I had a major pipe breakage which really caused a mess. The plumber was out there to fix, when the plumber was out there, they had discovered mold. The remediation company arrived and notified the tenant they'd have to vacate for about 2 days. So he made arrangements at a hotel for to sell it for his tenants. So when the tenants arrived, they were asked to give a $50 cash deposit to the hotel for any kind of damage or incidentals. The tenants at that point turned and walked away. The tenants then later informed me they had neither, they really had no money to put up as that deposit. Okay, could happen. You know, it's a rental property. They don't have extra money to put out for hotels. Now, here's the interesting part. In the meantime, they made complaints to every agency in the city stating they refused to do anything to repair the place. So now the tenants are actually going after him. Remember, we're talking about a $50 issue here that could probably make the problem go away at this point. The tenant was willing to get out. The tenants were willing to go to hotel. The tenants just didn't have the $50 to put up. After about 3 weeks, I informed them that they could actually borrow $50 from unpaid rent. So now this guy lets 3 whole weeks for whatever is going on. Obviously, there are the bigger issues in that rental house of his than he had even realized. 3 weeks goes by, still these tenants, God knows what they're doing for those 3 weeks. And now he's telling them, hey, I'll let you borrow the $50. So there's another chance right there to fix that problem. The tenants refused to do that. You know, at that point, I guess they're upset out of principle. So now he goes on to say they never paid me any rent at that point. Then an inspector came out to the place, and everyone agreed that this property still needed to be vacated. Later that day, I contacted them to ask them if they were ready to check in a hotel and if they had the deposit ready. He still hung up on this $50 deposit. Then the tenants tell them that really it's your responsibility to pay that $50 deposit. Now, so at that point, the tenants actually moved back into the property and they refused to let anyone else get inside that property. I filed an eviction, which takes about 6 to 8 weeks to complete. I have spent hundreds of dollars in attorney's fees, which have done me no good at this point. In the meantime, the city is trying to extort money from me. Now, after the tenants are fully aware of the situation, they still refuse to cooperate. I have never felt so helpless in 30 plus years. Pete, do you have any suggestions or comments? So look, working in the gray areas and letting your own principles hang you. Here's a guy that even in this email, 3 to 4 times, he brings up this $50 or a simple $50 deposit could have gotten his tenants into a hotel. Remember, on top of it, it's just a deposit. Whether it's a deposit or not, it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is it is a deposit, which means he probably would have gotten it back once they moved out of the hotel. Every hotel asks either for a credit card or a cash deposit. You see, he's so hung up on his principles that he's not going to pay the $50, and he's so hung up on the $50 itself, instead of worrying what later turns out to be, even in his own words, attorney's fees, I bet he's thousands of dollars into it by now. The city's got him on his radar and all that. So as you work in this business, there's no question you're going to come across circumstances like this. You're going to come across instances where you're going to have to probably pay a little bit more than you wanted to pay. You're going to have to come across deals or circumstances where you're going to have to compromise a little bit on your principles. You have to understand, again, working on those gray areas. It's okay, because the end goal is to close deals. And if it costs you an extra $50, does it really matter to solve a problem? If you compromise on the principle of never fronting money to someone and all of a sudden you front some money to someone, does that really matter? It really doesn't. So, and again, in this business, as I look at my career, these kind of situations, they really come out all the time. I could tell you just in the last 48 hours, here as I'm sitting here talking, a couple deals we're involved with right now that literally were supposed to close either yesterday or today. And they probably still will close today or yesterday, but unexpected things have come up. Monies that we didn't think we'd have to spend, we're spending. You know, issues that we didn't think that we don't want to have to handle, we're handling. That's okay. The end goal is to close deals.